Well, here we are for another discussion about A.M. Holmes, The Mistress's Daughter. I hope everyone is following along. It's such a great book.
It's
Um,
such a good book, and it just gets better and better.
so we last left off when um, with her birth father and asking, she'd asked him if he'd told his children yet, and he says no. So they leave
Oh
without
yes,
saying
they were
goodbye.
they were
Yeah.
meeting in hotels and things.
So
Yep.
then now she's gone to DC to give a reading, and Norman finds out and calls her up, and he says, in the Gazette there are pictures of you and my daughter. And I liked her response where she says, I'm the ghost, the one who does not exist.
Yeah.
Because he referred, like his daughter. He
His
didn't.
daughter.
It's like a
How about you
disconnect.
and you and my daughter being in the same paper at the same time?
Right. So which was funny because AM is, in the paper because she's doing a reading for a book she's published, and
Oh,
the
why the
half
daughters and
sister is in the paper because her daughter's in a beauty pageant
at McDonald's
at
dressing like
McDonald's.
Barbie. And didn't she write a piece? So AM also wrote a piece in her past about someone dating a real life Barbie.
Yes.
And she's like, really? This is why we're in the paper together. But what's the greatest part about this chapter is she runs out to madly get that paper in the rain.
Mm-hmm.
Like crazy. She has to see it because she has to see her sister.
I thought there was one thing before that though that she said, and I have felt like this so much in my life where she's thinking was that she was also thinking about her birth mother moving to New York because that's what
Mm-hmm.
Norman had told her that, and now her parents are in touch. And he told her that Ellen was thinking of moving to New York. And she's thinking she's not safe in New York. And then now the DC is not safe because of all this stuff. And then she just says, no place is home. And I
No
definitely
place
have
is home.
felt like that in my life, until Becker came along,
Yeah,
uh, you know, finally made me feel like at home somewhere. Home is where he is. So,
I totally agree. She puts in the middle of a story like such big zingers like that. It kind of almost takes my breath away.
mm-hmm.
Like not being safe, no place is home. And I do find, I think we talked about in the last one that sometimes in my own home, I'm not at home.
Mm-hmm.
But if my family's with me, if I'm with my son, my husband, his girlfriend, then I could be anywhere and that's comforting. That's home.
Yeah, I feel like when I go visit my son and his girlfriend in Dallas, and they make, I have my room there, and then when like the first night I'll fly in, I get into bed, I'm like, there is literally nowhere I'd
You,
rather be. I feel
yeah.
like like I can
Yeah. You sleep
sigh of
well. The
relief. Hmm.
anxiety is gone. Isn't that,
Yeah.
that is the truth. And then,
Um,
yeah, go
but this
ahead.
is so then she does, she rushes to get the paper and she's scanning, the articles about a Barbie children's fashion show at McDonald's. And then she looks, what's she wearing? And she says, is she dressed right for a nice lunch? Does she own jewelry?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I look at the picture carefully. I see her fat thigh, her belly, her feet, her outstretched hand, and it is my thigh, my belly, my feet, my hand.
Yeah. She actually recognizes her body because the woman has a hat on almost like she can't see her
Mm-hmm.
face, but she sees her in the woman, in her sister,
Mm-hmm.
just looking at that. And then she has another part that goes on about that where she says, um, I'm sure she dresses right for lunch. It's depressing as hell
Mm-hmm.
because she just feels like the rejected one, not important. And she's just, remember when he sized her up and how she looked and
Yeah, that's what he
mhm.
said. I would have taken you to a nice lunch, but
Yeah. But
yeah,
well, look what you're wearing. And she was dressed
yeah.
totally in nice pants and and a sweater. It's terrible.
And then now it's like getting close to her birthday, right? And
Mhm.
that which she shares a birthday with my son.
Oh, I saw that actually.
Yeah.
I noted that.
And then this was another thing that I thought was another universal adoptee feeling, I think. How can a person with no history have a birthday? Are you
Yeah.
sure it's my birthday? Are you sure of how old I am? How do you know? What proof do you have, not having an original birth certificate?
Yeah.
Like, and she didn't get her birth certificate for 2 years after she was born. Was there a delay because I belonged to no one, hovered in limbo land, waiting to become someone? I mean, all this stuff. Like, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about adoption. She's like, I don't have, it's so interesting to hear this stuff. I have no reference point. I have no idea what that must be like.
Yeah. Well, I think that I still don't have my original birth certificate. And that made me think about it actually. Like, I wonder if mine's as clean cut as I think. Like, I just assume, like, why didn't she have one for 2 years? That is bizarre.
Well, I think that's even maybe, well, I think, in my case, my adoption wasn't final. It took a year until it was final. And then I have the adoption decree that states my name is Donna Lynn. And then, of course, we know, and I've talked about it, that I've gotten my original birth certificate has a completely different name. So I have 3 names. But I think that wasn't issued
Yeah.
until the adoption decree was final. So I think sometimes that just takes longer.
And she had the mother wouldn't sign off. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So probably that was the delay. I've never seen any of my papers at all.
Well,
In
it's
fact,
time for
that's
you
something
to
I'm
start
doing. Yes.
Yes.
These holidays, we're taking a little break, you and I am going to do that because I'm always like, what's on my papers now? What if I have a
Yes.
different name?
You must have something. You must have an adoption decree somewhere. You
I have
never
nothing.
found it?
Both my parents passed and we went through all their papers. Nothing.
Maybe, and no safe deposit box
No,
anywhere. I mean, there has to be
we opened
paperwork
that.
somewhere.
There isn't. Will and I
That's
both lived.
bizarre.
And there used to be. So we
I
don't
wonder
know.
if,
Someone took
maybe
it.
in like your dad, because of how strongly he felt that you were his child, maybe got rid of them.
Maybe. I don't know. We found stuff from everything. Like, I
Yeah,
kept
to me that
everything.
sounds like someone purposefully.
Well, we also had a lot of people helping in the house during that time and a lot of things went missing. And my brother was like, wonder if they took it to make a social security card or something. I mean, who knows?
No, because it
no
says
idea.
there's no way that it says on an original not to be used for. I mean, there's just you can't use it.
I know it's bizarre, right? It's like
every
a mystery.
original birth certificate for an adoptee is stamped with "This is not meant for legal purposes." So nobody would have been able.
I'm going to do the whole, the whole Colorado thing and see what they give me.
Yeah.
Finally, they're giving things Colorado. Come on.
God.
Well, then, okay. So then she has a reading right after this. She has to do a reading. And, she felt
felt and feeling really vulnerable.
Vulnerable. Her mom's been in New York, was talking about moving to New York. She's all scared. And I just like her writing this one part, how they're having it in a library. And she says, libraries are sacred, preserved spaces where people are supposed to behave well. They are trusted places for people who love books. But the whole time she's there, she doesn't feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And, she attempted to pull a Lenny Bruce and stop the show and address the mystery guests, imploring them to reveal themselves like everybody was watching her. Was someone there watching her? And it is a weird feeling, an out of body thing. Like, who am I all of a sudden?
Yeah. Like the safety net of not knowing the veil has been pulled away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it makes me, parts of this made me sad because then she has, she goes into a whole story about after the reading, then she starts talking about her birthday, which you talked about, which is Becker's birthday. But she goes into being Jewish and wanting a Christmas tree and all of that.
And that they used to have a Christmas tree, right. and then it changed. And
yeah, and then when she was little, she dragged home a little Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Like it made me think even then there's those little issues of, I don't know, it was just sad.
Mm-hmm.
It did make me sad. And everybody, you really do have to read this. It's so well written. I can't stand it.
She's such a great writer. I was kind of thinking at moments, like she has moments of David Sedaris humor that really, yeah. And it's also, to me, the dynamic of her birth parents being in touch with each other, that kind of attraction
yeah.
that still burns, through them. And
It's very odd that they talk to each other since she's been like, I feel like she's this middle person. It's bizarre, actually.
yeah.
Like the dad drops little bombs like, oh, is the dragon lady coming? I thought she's been here. Like he knows things. That's just odd.
And then she ends up going to see Schindler's List, and the kind of has the parallels between her kind of the divisions and of the parallels between Schindler's List and adoption, really, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, and she goes during the holidays. Her adopted parents say, oh, you're going to a movie. I hope you'll get in. What are you seeing? She's like, Schindler's List. And they're like, well, that's supposed to be sad. She's like, exactly. Like, that's why she's going. And then she said I can't find the line, but she said, being in the movie was actually, she's the only person in the film thinking it was making her feel better.
Right.
And Schindler's List, right? Like everyone's sobbing and she's like, I'm actually feeling better. Because she had something to relate to.
And she was thinking of Norman as Schindler.
Yeah. But I mean, it is true when you're feeling so weird and down and you go see something sad. It's actually
I need to take out what I said about like the parallels of adoption to Schindler's List. That's not at all what I meant. She was more saying the dividing of families. If Norman were like, he would take responsibility if he were the good guy he was supposed to be, that he says he is. It was just, you'll have to, listeners, read the book to see this. I'm not doing it justice.
Well, it's about the losing of the family, right? And people having their identities ripped away. And she's also picturing Norman in his house at Christmas with their kids, and she knew that they had a beautiful Christmas tree because she drove by and looked, which cracks me up that she's secretly stalking.
Sits outside Norman's house looking in, and
yeah. And if he's so Christian, why don't his kids know about her? And when is she going to be welcome? She's like this bad secret, but everybody's so wonderful during the holidays, and it's just sad.
Yeah. And then right after the new year, she hears from Ellen, her birth mother, wanting to see her, and she agrees. So they agree to meet at the plaza, which is where, part of the fantasy for Ellen of meeting at the plaza. And I don't think, Louise, you want to hold off on this until our next chapter review?
I do, because I didn't read it.
We could discuss that in depth.
And there's a lot,
because there's so much to that to that first meeting.
Yeah, I'm excited actually to, like, when we put this down, that's my break today, is to keep going.
Yes.
Well, this has been amazing. And our next guest actually has a lot of insight and has, written a book as well.
Yes.
Maybe she'll be, another memoir.
Another part of our memoir series. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye.